Hey guys, go diesel or go hybrid. That has been the trend on the global car market space and even in our Kenyan car market space today. And all this is in the quest for automakers to still give us power and driving thrill, but use little fuel. So it's all about sustainability and all about the environment. And in Kenya, the demand for subcompact crossover SUVs has also grown. And that is why today at Auto Connect, we have brought you two of the most popular subcompact crossover SUVs in the Kenyan market space today. And they have followed that mantra. You either go diesel or go hybrid. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to bring you an up-close and candid juxtaposition between the 2017 Mazda CX-3 Skyactiv D and the Honda Vezel hybrid. And as usual, Auto Connect is the only car channel that will guarantee you an alluring motor vehicle experience. I'll be your host, Eric Okabi, Eric with a CK. And remember, you can follow me at a personal level on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. And now, let's start with this Sunday's episode of The Juxtaposition. On this episode of The Juxtaposition, normally we bring cars that are within the same budget range, but this Sunday is an exception, and it's going to trigger the conversation about the pricing of this vehicle here. Why? Now, we went to Carplicity Motors along Kiambu Road, and by the way, if you want to view any of these cars, you can contact Carplicity. They have a wide range of vehicles, from economic vehicles to commercial to luxury. So, number ya Devi Carplicity is on the description below. Now, back to what you were talking about. Now, the Honda Vezel is priced at a whooping 2.35 million Kenya shillings. This is the Vezel hybrid. Whereas the Mazda CX-3 is priced at 2 million. Well, that's a difference of 300,000 Kenya shillings. However, in terms of value, when you're buying any of this, you're buying either you're buying a subcompact crossover SUV, and most likely these days fuel is expensive, so you're looking at a car that is going to be easy on your pocket in terms of fueling cost and also maintenance cost. So can we get the value that the Vezel offers in this car over here that is 350,000 Kenya shillings cheaper compared to this vehicle over here? That is what this episode is all about. It's just putting head to head the Mazda CX-3 against the Honda Vezel. And I would like us to start with the Vezel just to understand why it's rather expensive. Yeah, because the pricing of the Vezel, we can say the Vezel is the premium of subcompact crossover SUVs, because the pricing on the Vezel is quite high compared to competition. So why is it high? First of all, if you're buying the Vezel, you're going to get it in either petrol hybrid or non-hybrid configuration. If you are the sporty kind of driver, you can also get the Vezel RS that comes with a 1.5 liter turbo, but they are rare, and guess what? They are pricey, because if you get the Vezel RS, the non-hybrid one with the 1.5 1500cc engine, you are going to pay upwards of 2.6 million Kenya shillings. Yes, that's how expensive. That's the price of a 2016 Mazda CX-5 diesel for this car over here. Well, there are some few similarities between the Vezel and the CX-3, and one of them is both are based on super minis. So the Vezel is based on the Honda Fit, and the CX-3 is based on the Mazda Demio. So this is the Honda Fit on heels, and this is the Mazda Demio on heels. But let me tell you something about driving this Honda Vezel, and Honda has really changed the game in terms of their hybrid vehicles. We have known hybrid vehicles for being boring to drive, for being lazy. In fact, the initial Honda hybrids were not fun to drive at all. But Honda employed a new technology, and we are going to talk about it as I open the hood of the Honda Vezel. Unlike Toyota hybrids, Honda hybrids are no longer boring to drive. Why is this so? There is a whole concept that Honda employed on its modern hybrids that is called Honda IDCD. And Honda IDCD is all to do with the gearbox. In fact, in a fancy way, they call it Honda Hybrid Sport. But IDCD literally stands for Intelligent Dual Clutch Drive. And the gearbox that they used on most modern hybrids, you will find them on the Grace, on the Honda Fit, on the Vezel. They used a 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. And literally, the dual clutch transmission on the Honda Vezel is basically a manual transmission, but an actuator does the shifting for you. So you get the economy of a hybrid vehicle, yet get the shifting of a sports car. And I'll give you a very unpopular opinion. The power figures on the Honda Vezel are actually better than the power figures on the Mazda CX-3 1.5 diesel. Yeah, I know most people are about to go to the comments, but let me give you the figures. Now, if you buy the Honda Vezel hybrid, you're going to be getting 150 horsepower and around 155 Newton meters of torque. But on the CX-3, you're going to get around 104 horsepower, but a whooping 270 Newton meters of torque. Why do you get more power on the 1.5 Vezel without turbocharging? That is courtesy of the electric motor that Honda used on the Vezel hybrid. So which motor are we talking about? It's called Honda's H1 electric motor, and it's a PMSM motor. What does PMSM stand for? It stands for Permanent Magnet Synchronous Motor. Yeah, that is what they use here, and it boosts the power and the torque you get on this engine. So yes, the Honda Vezel hybrid has more power compared to the Mazda CX-3. I know it's an unpopular fact, but yes. So, you know, Honda Vezels are driven by people who do not really value driving thrill, but Mazda CX-3s are driven by people who want that punch of torque. And I have said before that the reason why you feel the CX-3 is fast is just because of the torque you get courtesy of the diesel engine. And now you do not have turbocharging on this hybrid, but you get turbocharging on the CX-3. And you see, that is courtesy of Honda's Earth Dreams technology, whereby they have been able to squeeze out more power from these 1.5 liter engines by adding these electric motors. But guess what? You can still get the Vezel in a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine or 1.5. That is for non-hybrid applications, and that is for the RS. And also you can still get the 1.5 liter in the Vezel, but for non-hybrid purposes. Let's talk about reliability when it comes to the Honda Vezel. Honda is known for reliability. However, a few cases have been reported. Actually, there are not few. There are significantly many cases have been reported when it comes to the Honda Vezel hybrid automatic transmission, the 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. But mostly, if you look at the failure rate, can be the causes can be attributed to mostly maintenance. Plus also, at high mileages, these transmissions are bound to fail, especially the electrical bit. In fact, what fails mostly on the Honda Vezel transmission is not the mechanical bit, it's the electrical bit of this gearbox, because it has three major components. It has the electrical component, it has the hydraulic components, and it has the mechanical components. So what really fails is the electronic components of the 7-speed DCT. Prices of the 7-speed dual clutch transmission of the Vezel have been quite absurd if you're shopping around for that gearbox. But luckily, these days, the world has become a global village, and you can ship the gearbox from overseas, and that is why we partnered with our good friends WACE Auto Spares, who are really driving forward the conversation on importation of car parts, and they do this in record time. You can either ship by air or by sea. And you see, both of them, if you ship by air, it's a conversation of, do you want the part urgently or can it wait slightly longer? But the most important part is that you get to save money. So if you're shopping around for a Honda Vezel 7-speed dual clutch transmission, check out WACE. Their number is in the description below. So when it comes to the Honda Vezel, the Honda Vezel hybrid, the question is not even with the battery pack, because Honda hybrid systems are actually very, very, very reliable. But do not forget that you also have to maintain the hybrid unit of the Honda Vezel. Always make sure if you own a hybrid vehicle, take it for service the hybrid unit, and it will serve you long enough. And also remember, the hybrid units are actually mileage sensitive. So when you're shopping around for a hybrid vehicle, make sure that the mileage is also a bit lower. And if it's high, try get before you buy it, try do a pre-purchase inspection, and this is something that we offer. Check out the voltages of the battery pack. You will be able to tell which modules are dead and which ones are actually, you know, alive, and for how long are they going to serve you. So we also offer pre-purchase inspection services. So ukitaka kununua gari hybrid, let us know, and we are going to make sure that you buy a quality vehicle. Now let's talk about the suspension bits and try compare it to the Mazda CX-3. Well, the Vezel sits on size 17 wheels, and mostly it comes with alloys. You get to have disc brakes at the front and discs at the back, so you get superior stopping. And I would like us to see now where the Honda Vezel actually wins over the CX-3, and that is the interior. Why? Because the Honda Vezel is way much more spacious compared to the Mazda CX-3. Let's see what we have inside here. The interior of the Honda Vezel, especially if you buy a high trim of it, it's simply marvelous. You get a digital cluster, but the speedo is analog. Also, look at this finishing. You get this blend of gray and brown. Then you have that brown leather strip all over the center console. Also, you get leather seats. But the most beautiful bit about it is that it looks quite futuristic. You don't have the conventional shifter, and this is where the Honda actually, you know, nailing it when it comes to the interior. The shifter is actually very trendy, and you get a digital, you know, AC panel. So if you're controlling your AC, everything, it's all about it's touch. Then you get a sport mode button, and this is when you want to have fun with the Honda Vezel. Also, you get an electronic handbrake, and also the what we call the brake hold. Now, brake hold is for when you're in traffic. So if the lights go red, instead of the vehicle is in drive and your foot is on the brakes, you can actually engage brake hold, let go of the brake, it will stop, and once the lights go green, you just tap on the accelerator pedal and it just moves. Now, this is what now separates the two personalities between somebody who would buy a Honda Vezel and the person who would buy a Mazda CX-3. You know, lately, showries for Honda Vezels have been giving people sleepless nights, especially on their road trips. But yeah, these cars are actually, the Honda Vezel is quite feminine. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying men cannot drive Vezels, but they are quite feminine. And that's why women or ladies love buying the Vezel. It has a feminine touch, and you see, most of them are point A to point B drivers, and it's going to give you amazing fuel economy. You're talking about over 20 kilometers to the liter on average, and that is superb fuel economy. But the people who are buying the Mazda CX-3 diesel, and there is a surprise that is in that Mazda CX-3 that I will want to talk about, and the quest for Mazda to keep driving thrill and to keep, you know, Mazda has a way of modernizing vehicles but still retaining that nostalgic feel of performance. So if you're a performance centric individual, there is no Vezel that is going to provide you with the thrill that you need, because even if you get it with a 1.5 liter turbo, you're going to get a CVT transmission. If you get it hybrid, you're going to get Honda's dual clutch transmission. There are a few, in fact, this car is also called the HRV in other markets. So if you buy it from the UK, you are likely to get a manual transmission and a 1.6 liter diesel. However, the driving thrill in the Vezel can never match that of the CX-3, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. But let's also talk about the space, because this is now, if you're a young person with a family, the Vezel is far much more family centric, because you get a lot of space, proper legroom on the second row of seats, and also a luggage space that is quite decent, so making it a subcompact crossover SUV that gives you the luxury of space. The CX-3 is a bit crumpled up, but we'll talk about that when we get to the CX-3. So what are the winning points of the Vezel? The winning point is basically space, space, space. Now let's check out that CX-3 because I'm excited. There are a few things I need to show you about the CX-3 that will make any driving enthusiast go crazy over that CX-3. The Mazda CX-3, and talking about this car just makes me excited if you're comparing it to the Honda Vezel, and this is because the CX-3 has been able to bring together a very rare cocktail of performance, driving thrill, the looks, and also fuel economy. And from the prima facie, the first impression of the CX-3 is a sporty, elegant, good-looking subcompact crossover SUV. In fact, subcompact crossover SUVs in the lineup, especially in Kenya, the Vezel, the Peugeot 2008, the RVR, the Juke, all of them look quite meh. They are quite boring. But when you look at the CX-3, Mazda's soul of motion design language, you get, these two hairs that are zinakuanga hapa nyuma ya shingo. When you look at that, the CX-3, there is that feeling that actually will give you goosebumps because it looks like a subcompact SUV that is ready to run. And is it ready to run? Yes, it is. And this is where the Mazda purists actually shine. And for a very long time, Mazda was an underdog in the Kenyan car market space. But these days, with the introduction of their diesel engines, they have proved many wrong. They are able to put that punch of torque and that sporty feel even in subcompact crossover SUVs, guys. This vehicle right here, in terms of the driving feel and the driving thrill, it gives you the vibes of a BMW X1. Yes, guys, and that is one beautiful thing about Mazda's Skyactiv technology. And Mazda's Skyactiv technology is not only on the engine, it's on the chassis for response and stability, it's on the gearbox, and it's even with the whole soul of motion design. And part of the sporty aesthetics on this CX-3 are the bumper lip, the headlights, and even the side skirts. But not all CX-3s come this way. This is a high trim sports version of the CX-3, and this vehicle is based on the Mazda Demio. So what do we have under the hood of the Mazda CX-3? Well, this is a 1.5 liter direct injection turbocharged engine. Yes, and it does not give much power, by the way. This is, I have to speak in low tones here because it only gives 104 horsepower. But on the good side and on the exciting side, you get a whooping 270 Newton meters of torque. That is 120 more Newton meters of torque compared to the Vezel. And the Vezel, what are electric motors known for? Instant torque. However, the diesel engine in the Mazda CX-3 outdid that and gave the CX-3 driving pleasure, because when you're driving this car, there is that feel, that punch of torque. Ukipita wase kwa mlima, ukienda Kinungi ni kuwakata tu. That's the beauty. Watu wengine wanakaa climbing lane, when you actually you get to move and you get to chew the hills or any steep inclines with a lot of ease, courtesy of Mazda's Skyactiv technology. Yes, there is a turbo. Most modern diesel engines feature a turbocharger and common rail direct injection. But there also has been a few complaints with the Mazda CX-3 and the Mazda Demio. Well, especially the diesel one. So part of that complaint is with the DPF. So what you do, immediately you buy the CX-3, take it for a DPF delete, and that will help you, cope with our Euro 4 rated fuel, because these are Euro 6. So you're going to get a lot of clogging with the DPF. But lately we have been getting the question of, is DPF delete the only way to cope with the DPF issues in these Mazdas? Well, no. There is another way to deal with the DPF, and that is DPF cleaning. So you can choose either to do the delete or to be cleaning your DPF every once in a while. So the choice is yours. Now, how is power transmitted to the wheels? This is the interesting part. I told you Mazda values the driving thrill. Mazda values the driving culture. And that is why on the CX-3, you do not only, if there is a perfect match that is made in heaven, is a turbocharged diesel engine with a manual transmission. That is a marriage that is made in heaven, a marriage that is unbreakable, an unbreakable bond. And it's wacha hizi harusi zenyu mnasema happily ever after. Hii sasa ndio happily ever after, because you get the 1.5 liter diesel that is turbocharged, mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. Mazda calls it the Skyactiv manual transmission, and it is tweaked to give you the driving experience of a sports car. Yeah, so that's now where the CX-3 wins most of the people who really want that driving thrill. And even if you get the 6-speed automatic, yes, the Vezel might have more gears, it's a 7-speed, but even if you get the automatic on the Vezel, you're going to get it in a 6-speed automatic transmission that is equally good. You know, most automatic transmissions are known to be quite lazy, but the precision of Mazda's automatic transmissions and even the reliability of Mazda's automatic transmissions is actually unmatched. Let's talk about something else. I got too excited on the engine bit of the CX-3, but now if you're buying a subcompact SUV, you're buying it mostly for clearance, which is ironical because on the Mazda CX-3, well, the clearance is not that good. But anyway, what do you expect from a Demio that is wearing high heels? Same with the Vezel. Actually, the clearance of the Vezel is way more impressive compared to the clearance on the CX-3, even though the clearance on the Vezel is also not very good. What do you get in terms of suspension? Now on the CX-3, you get at the front, you have the conventional McPherson struts, and still that is what you get on the Vezel. However, most of the reviews that we do will talk about independent rear suspension. However, no, you do not get that on these two. I told you that these vehicles are based on smaller cars, smaller super minis, the Mazda Demio and the Honda Fit. And that is why nyuma hizi gari ni za milingoti. Yes, they run on a solid beam. So you do not get independent rear suspension on these two cars. Anyway, what do you expect from a Honda Fit and a Mazda Demio? Where does the CX-3 lose? One is clearance, secondly is space. Irrespective of all the driving thrill that you'll be getting from the CX-3, well, the space is limited. And the CX-3 gives the vibes of somebody who does not value space, because there are those people, somebody who does not have a family. Even if you have a family, you have a very young family, because the space on the second row of seats is actually very small. Cargo space is also limited on the CX-3. So literally, this is more of, it's like a sports car. You know, when you're driving a sports car, there's no one who goes to buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari and asks, is it a 7-seater? Ama ikona, what is the luggage space on it? No, it's purely for driving thrill. And that is the vibe that the CX-3 gives. It's a subcompact crossover SUV that can, you know, it's for a young professional, somebody who values that driving thrill, a trendy look, but who is not really concerned with family, somebody who is in this religion right here. So does it serve the purpose? Yes, to the target audience, it does serve the purpose. There has been a question that has been thrown at us, and that question is the Mazda CX-3 available in petrol? Yes, it is available in petrol, but my verdict on that would be yes. The petrol one is we can say it's easier to maintain, and you do not have to do DPF delete after buying it and be extra careful on where you're fueling the car. No. It's actually more reliable and it's easier to maintain. However, it will cost you an arm and a leg. And the major setback for somebody who is buying a CX-3 who wants some driving thrill, it's a bit boring to drive. I have driven a CX-3 petrol and it's not as engaging as a CX-3 with the 1.5 Skyactiv T. Tuko pamoja. So Tell us, which poison would you take home? Let's check out the interior of the CX-3, then take these cars for a drive. Inside the Mazda CX-3, my biggest complaint is space. Space, space, space. It's quite crumpled up, I must say. You do not get a lot of freedom, but that is not important when you're getting a 6-speed manual transmission. And you know, Mazdas have been, and I'll say this time and again, Mazda has been able to bring that ancient driving feel that most enthusiasts will appreciate. One, the Honda Vezel has an electronic handbrake. The CX-3 has a manual handbrake. Unlike the Vezel, now the Mazda CX-3, the one with the manual transmission, does not feature a lot of fancy, intricate, complex technological features that are futuristic. No, it takes you back to the early 90s, the late 80s, which was the golden era of automaking or car manufacturing. Well, you get the 6-speed manual transmission. As the old adage says, the wise men once sat down and said, mwanaume ni kukanyaga clutch na kucheza na fimbo. Yes, so that's what you get, the ancient driving feel. And this car will be appreciated by anyone who wants the thrill of a manual transmission, and that goes very well with the turbocharged diesel motor right there, because you may not get a lot of power, but you're going to get a lot of torque. So the other thing is that there is some modernization in the Mazda CX-3, like the infotainment is quite modern and it's controlled from right here, kawaida Mazda, and also, these two vehicles, the CX-3 and the Vezel, they are very safe because they are both rated at 5 stars when it comes to safety rating. So the major losing point of the CX-3 for a person who is looking at it from a family car perspective is space, or for somebody who values space, because yes, it will give you superb fuel economy, because this car, if you drive it properly, it's going to achieve upwards of 18 kilometers to the liter. And that brings the question of, is the hybrid necessary when you can push that kind of fuel economy on a diesel motor? Yes, so in terms of, and by the way, in the infotainment, we also get a DVD player on the Mazda CX-3. Yeah, this is good. They take us back in time. But who knows? History repeats itself. And I must say, I must give a big thanks to Mazda for always valuing drivers and making sure that irrespective of technological advancements, they still keep manual transmissions and they still give us engines that will take us back in the day when driving was driving, not like today when you expect computers to be driving around for you. Let's take these cars for a spin. Driving the Honda Vezel is pure bliss, and you know, you get to feel that it's no longer boring to drive a hybrid vehicle, and Honda has really worked to tweak that IDCD to give you that sporty kind of driving feel. The response from the steering is also amazing, but for you to get that punch of power, you have to put your foot to push the pedal lower so that you can get that that punch of power. However, it still does feel quite decent. It's decent in terms of power, it's decent in terms of acceleration, but you do not get as much torque as you get on the Mazda CX-3. But all in all, it is not a boring car to drive. Even for the people who buy cars to move from point A to point B, when you're driving around town, the hybrid system on this car, you can be able to, it's a full hybrid, you can be able to run solely on the electric motor, so it gives that very, very, very silent, almost silent drive when you're below 20 kilometers per hour, and that saves you a lot of fuel. When you hit sport mode and you get the electric motor working hand in hand with the internal combustion engine, that's when the juice in the Vezel comes in. When you're driving eco, the cluster color is predominantly green, but when you push sport, it turns red to tell you, you know what, we're about to have some fun. But anyway, let's compare it with the Mazda CX-3, because I've driven a diesel CX-3 before, and it does not feel, irrespective of the fact that it has more horsepower, the driving experience is nowhere near that of the Mazda CX-3, irrespective of the fact that this one has Honda Hybrid Sport or the IDCD. Again, the Mazda CX-3 wins hands down when it comes to the driving experience. You know, there is one thing that you note when you sit in a Mazda CX-3 that is quite different from a Honda Vezel, and that is the interior build quality. The Vezel feels so basic and, to be honest, quite cheap, but the Mazda CX-3 feels premium. And consider that the Vezel we have is a high trim. Well, the Mazda still feels way more premium considered to the Vezel. There is reduced road noise, and even the build quality is superior. However, the most important thing to an enthusiast is how fun to drive this vehicle is. You know, it hits the corners like thunder and disappears like smoke, and you shift through all the 6 gears manually. What I can say is, driving the Mazda CX-3, forgive me for using BMW's tagline on a Mazda, but it's sheer driving pleasure. I told you guys, there is a match made in heaven, and that is a manual transmission mated to a turbocharged diesel motor. Especially the modern diesels, you get to enjoy every bit of it. And you know, it doesn't matter whether the Vezel has 150 horsepower. No. What really matters is that this car, it has a decent 104 horsepower, but the most important thing is the torque, because that is what you enjoy on the Mazda CX-3. Now, the funny bit is that I don't have a heads-up display on this one. Could have made it sportier, but well, again, that is not important. The selling point for this Mazda CX-3 is the driving experience, especially if you're driving it in manual. If you get it in manual, you know, driving a manual CX-3 and having all that torque at your disposal is simply any driver's bliss. Especially if you love driving, the CX-3 diesel manual will be the vehicle to buy. You know, buying the manual CX-3 gives it that traditional, nostalgic and engaging driving thrill, because with the auto you're just operating the accelerator and the brake pedal, but when you add a third pedal to this car, you simply get it. You get to that point where, you know, it's not for enthusiasts, it's not all about driving from point A to point B. It's about how you feel when you're driving. And the Mazda CX-3 has gone a notch higher to not only move you from point A to point B, it will move you from point A to point B in style, and also with that epic thrill, that epic driving thrill that you need, that adrenaline, and also it will give you more control of the car. When all is said and done, 2.35 million Kenya shillings for the Vezel. Do you think, or do you feel it's overpriced? Tell us in the comments. However, now each of these two cars has its strong points, but when it comes to value, the Mazda CX-3 might lose on space, but it delivers everything that the Honda Vezel can actually deliver. And considering the fact that it's 350,000 Kenya shillings cheaper, well, it shows that in terms of value, the Mazda CX-3 does make sense. But for a family, for a person who is worried about space and a family-oriented person, well, it might disadvantage you in terms of space. And the Vezel, maybe that is why a Vezel is a favorite to most people who have young families. The CX-3 is mostly for single people, or people who have very young families, because in terms of space, it's highly disadvantaged. But the Honda Vezel is a family-centric vehicle, but the Mazda CX-3 is more of a thrill or a driver-centric vehicle. And that's my verdict for this week's review, the episode of Juxtaposition. So which one of the two do you think would fit your driving needs? I'll be your host, Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK. Remember, you can follow me at a personal level on Facebook, X, TikTok, and Instagram as well. Also, we value your feedback. Tell us, what do you think about these two cars? Remember, we offer services such as pre-purchase inspection. So if you want a pre-purchase inspection done on your vehicle, you can call us on the number that is in the description. Na pia kama unataka kuimport any spare parts, ongea na WACE Auto Spares. And also asante sana Carplicity for giving us this vehicle, these 2 cars, and you can view cars at Carplicity. You can get cars from them. You can go inquire about these 2 cars. Watakupatia deal fit, ukienda uambie umetumwa na Eric wa Auto Connect ama Wakabi. Yes, they'll give you a good discount courtesy of Auto Connect. So visit Carplicity along Kiambu Road, and you can also call them through the number that is in the description. So hapo kwa description tuko na namba 3. Tuko na namba ya Carplicity, Devi Carplicity, tuko na namba ya WACE Auto Spares, na tuko na namba ya Auto Connect. Thank you so much guys. Keep on sharing, liking and subscribing to the channel.